divine light, you beautiful stars, you half-breeds, you lovely beings of love and light. I'm Courtney, your host. Okay, so this Sunday, next Sunday, and the following Sunday, the last 3 Sundays in January, we're going to be covering that overall theme of the 2023, which came from the Akashic of um, open without expectation, which we're going to talk about expectation again, but also how to thrive in the collective love. So, welcome everybody. Hello, hello. Happy Sunday. Happy 2 o'clock. Yep, I'm about 2 minutes late. It happens. But I took a shower for everybody. Hey, cheers, right? Hey, Miss Shelley. Good to see you, my dear. There was a lot said in last Sunday's message. A lot. So the next, hey, Ms. Lori. The next one, or the next 3 weeks, like I said, I'm going to keep covering this stuff and kind of break it down even more. And, you know, a lot of this, like what we're going to talk about today, I've actually been talking about since the summertime. But if you're new here, you can go back and look. But stay with us. Stay. We're getting everybody prepared to go through 2023 more successfully, right? So last week we covered a lot. And I did end it with, be open. Open without expectation was the title that the Akashic wanted to give me, but the underlying theme is how to thrive in the collective love. And there's a lot to the word open, and I didn't say it all in last Sunday's program, because parts of it are, we're going to ease our way into it, right? We're going to ease our way into the concept of open. But last Sunday I did say, open eyes, right? Because we're going to be in the center of the storm, seeing everything happening, moving with it, choosing to not take part in the insanity, but having to move along with it, right? So keeping our eyes open. But also I suggested, just hypothetically, possibly, think about living a life open without fear. Open without fear. So we can receive. So we can do what we need to do, right? That's a lot. That's a lot. So, and it's not like we're not programmed to live without fear. We're programmed to live with fear. That's a given, right? That's a given. So it's a lot for me to just say, hey, hypothetically, try it out. Because what does that even look like, right? Today we're going to be talking about the fear. We're going to be talking about how to use the community more in a productive manner, give and take, right? Back to when I started talking about like bartering this past summer. And we're going to talk about, I don't think I have it in front of me. I don't, because I gave myself like 2 minutes. We're going to talk about staying in kind of the neutral zone, neutrality, moving forward for a while. Oh, darn. Maybe I should just get up and do it now. Yeah, hold on, guys. I know that it's right over there. Hold on. Right. Yeah, and you can see my lovely moon that someone gave me. Yes, Jamie. Well, actually, I'm going to use her as an example because I just got off the phone with her shortly ago. And she gave me like 3 different examples to use for today's show, so it was wonderful. She didn't know that at the time. Anyways, um, oh, hi guys. Hi, beautiful stars. If you're new here, like I said, keep hanging out. We learn a lot going on here. There's a lot happening with Stars of the Morning Light. Any of you that are in the Chattanooga, North Georgia area, next Saturday, I will be at an event, a very small holistic fair, only 7 booths, at Jamie Gray's Blue Sun Fusion Studio in Dalton, Georgia. Dalton is about, I don't know, 30 minutes or so from the Chattanooga border. I will be doing readings there. It'll be a good time. It's called Winter Rejuvenation. Find a post about it on Facebook. It's out there. It's small, but it's going to have exactly what people need to rejuvenate during this winter. The winter doldrums that are starting to set in for everybody, right? So, let's talk about fear for a minute. Right now, including myself, including many, I mean, I do know pockets of people that are successful with not living with fear, but for the majority, so we're going to talk about the majority. First, we have to become conscious of when we're in thoughts of fear, right? And fear can present itself in a lot of ways. Towards the end of the month, we're going to talk about vulnerability versus war mentality. Fear can present itself in a lot of ways. For people like me, those who refer to themselves as warriors, which I do not refer to myself as that, but I still have a lot of the characteristics. Fear will manifest itself inside of me, and I present it as anger. I present it as judgment. I present it as all sorts of stuff, right? In others, it might present itself as like kind of shutting down, going into our little caves inside, right? Too overwhelmed, too much fear. It can present itself in a lot of ways. A lot of people, it gets to the point that it's like a physical reaction. It's manifesting some kind of sickness, some kind of nervous tic. So the majority, we have not conquered or let go of this concept of fear, of the 3D control. And let's go this way. So, what I do know is fear is usually rooted in 3 separate pockets, 3 separate categories. And a lot of my patrons know this because we've talked about it on Patreon before. It's either lack, rejection, and or survival. Most of our fears go into either one of those 3 categories. Lack, rejection, or survival. Okay? For a lot of people, a whole lot of stuff is masked out of the fear of rejection. A lot goes into that category. But we are headed into more of a lack and or survival. The other thing about fear is that the majority of the amount that we fear, there was a statistic that came out, oh goodness, probably like 30 years ago now. I really need to get more updated statistics, don't I? Probably like 30 years ago now, that said the majority of what people worry about, only 2% of it actually happens. But knowing what we know here at Stars of the Morning Light, we are creating all the time with our thoughts and our words. Yet and still, most fears, I'm going to say 90% of the time, the fears that are going on in our heads haven't happened. They have not happened yet. They are all in our imagination. I gotta give it to us humans. Even if you think you're not creative at all, I can guarantee you, you are creative. Because the majority of us, all the stuff that we are afraid of, hasn't actually happened yet. So therefore, we are very creative beings. And we are creating all the time with those imaginations, being fearful of stuff that hasn't happened yet. I know everybody's tracking with me. And what fear does, and we know this just by watching civilization for a very long time, is it's interesting. Fear can have two parts to it. It can create complete separation, but it also can create complete solidarity. It's very interesting how it happens. It can create separation via us versus them. I'm right, you're wrong. Very black and white thinking. It can create it that way. And at the same time, though, it creates solidarity with all the people that think they're right. And all the people that are fearful of the same stuff. Right? It's very interesting how that happens. So it can create pockets of communities online, out into the world. This is where it's interesting when churches come into play. We can see the solidarity there. I'm right, you're wrong. And it doesn't really matter about the faith. I'm right, you're wrong. You can see it in any groups of people that are coming together for a singular cause. Because you know what? Us here in this group, we're right and you're wrong. And the majority of it's all based out of some kind of fear. So at the same time, it creates separation amongst humans. I gotta protect mine. I gotta, oh, sorry, the dog's barking. Sorry, that was because somebody banged their car. Samson! And it creates solidarity. I find it fascinating. I love studying human behavior. I love sociology. I love all of it. I love studying anthropology, psychology, all of it. I love looking at human behavior. To the point last night, this actually is gonna come up at the end of today's message as well. Last night I'm watching another new documentary about cults. It's probably like, Courtney, you probably shouldn't tell the world you watch all this stuff. I'm not studying or not interested in it because, that's my goal in life. I'm really fascinated as to how that happens. I am beyond fascinated of how very, very large groups of people can fall into the same programming and behaviors and start doing even as they know they shouldn't. It's fascinating to me. And it's usually because eventually, as we know, because we all understand it. Hi Lucky, it's good to see you, my dear. As we all know, little drops of some kind of fear elements start being dropped into the mix. So once again, separation, we know better with solidarity. And I will tell you guys, we have to be careful in 2023 of that. Of that. So let's go back to fear just for a moment. Fear stemming from either lack, rejection, or survival. All of those are going to be in play. All of those. Usually survival is not in play that much because of, well, we live in a different time than back when, yeah, we actually might, we need to focus on survival. Those are going to be all at play. All at play. But I still want to say, it's a twofold situation. None of it has actually happened yet. And we are creating as we think and speak. So the more pockets of all these people talking and coming together in their solidarity of fears creates more of the potentiality of that happening. Right? We learn a whole lot about this on Friday's episode of Emerald Tablets Revealed. Go back and please watch that. So what can we do, Courtney? What can we do? And a lot of the theme today is also, because we're going to talk about community, is really start having discernment amongst your community, amongst your tribe, amongst who you speak with, to who you listen to what you listen to. With fear, though, it is that concept of coming back to the now. Now, I will say, in this now, right now actually doesn't really exist. Because the moment you try to put your finger in the now, as those might say, or be present in the now, it's already passed. But it's still good. It's still a good tool to use. The concept of the now. Especially if it's in relation to looking at your fears. You come back to your mind, whoa, I'm in some kind of fear. Guys, if I am in anger, if I'm in anger and my mind is running, because it happens, I'm human, right? But then I catch my thoughts, whoa, Courtney, you're really angry. What's going on? The very first question I ask myself, what are you afraid of right now, Courtney? What are you afraid of? Because my default emotion is anger. Others, their default emotion is depression and kind of coiling back into themselves. Mine is anger. So I know, okay, that's my default. I fell right into my default. Why is my anger like this right now? So my first question I ask myself, what are you afraid of, Courtney? And I will tell you, that answer is there. It could be anything. It could be I'm actually fearful for someone else. I could be fearful for someone else. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So once I have that answer, what am I afraid of? Well, then I got to bring it into the now. Has that actually happened, Courtney? Have you actually been rejected, Courtney? Nope, that's all in my head. That's all in my head. Are you actually lacking? Oftentimes people, especially right now, including myself, we get very worried about paying the bills. They're very worried about it. We get fearful about it. But what tends to happen is that fear is happening on a Sunday or a Monday, and that bill's not due until Friday or Thursday. You still got a whole spot of time in there. But yet we're worrying and freaking out that we're not going to have the money to pay for it. When we're not there yet, It hasn't happened. Nothing has said you're not going to have the money. Nothing has said that. You have no idea what's going to happen. Open without expectation. Open without expectation is what the records want me to talk about all in January. Open without expectation. So as we say here, expectation. It's fine to have expectations. I actually tell people it's ridiculous to not have expectations. Because we live in a world of, we do get things done. And we do have bills to pay, right? So the expectation is we gotta pay this bill. Okay, that's the expectation. I don't want a late fee. Gotta pay that bill, right? But what it means to be open without expectations is to let go of the fear, because it is not actually happening right now, and be opening to receiving whatever's going to happen in that time frame to have that money show up for you. If it is that you have to do something about it, then you have to do something about it. If it is you trust, which we're going to talk about today, then you trust and it'll show up. But it all does start with me going to myself, and I suggest starting to do this. Once you're in some kind of high state of emotion, because that's what's going to show us something's going on with us. It could be sadness, it could be fear, it could be anxiety. Everybody in their anxiety. Okay, I'm feeling that. I got the feelings. Immediately ask yourself, what are you afraid of? The answers can vary from paying the bills to I'm afraid so-and-so is like harming themselves unintentionally. They don't know what they're doing. Like I said, we're going to talk about that. Also, the state of the nation, fear, right? I'm not going to have, often lack. Now it is going to be those three pockets: lack, rejection, or survival. It will always fall into some kind of category. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Your mind will tell you. Your mind will tell you. Then you have to, yes, bring it back to the now. Bring it back to, is that happening right now? In this moment? No. Do I still have food in my house? I do. Is it a lot? Probably not, but I do. I do. Am I going to eat today? I am. This is where that concept came from. I'm not, there's actually a lot of scripture about being in the now, and Buddha talked about it of course Buddha did, and he would give examples. Those who listen here know more, even if they agree with it or not. This is the concept of manna falling from the sky each day. This is the concept of in the Lord's Prayer. Each day give us our daily bread. Is it happening right now? No, it's not. Most of our fears, 90% of them, are imagined. They're projected. But once again, we're creating all the time. 2023. I said we would cover, as I just spoke there, we're going to talk about trust, and we're going to talk about fearing of other people's behaviors and habits, right? 2023. Oh, I'm going to love this year because it's going to have the potentiality to give everyone so much practice. Time to practice, folks. It's going to give so many people time to... In the last video, I already explained, the majority of the consciousness has learned how cause and effect actually works in their daily life. If they're aware of it or not, they understand it now. But yes, 2023 is going to give everyone multiple opportunities to build and learn trust. to build and learn trust. Trust within themselves. It always starts there. This is how we've been talking about we're going to start implementing little things that we know we need. But that's how we build trust within ourselves. We start actually doing the stuff that we say we're going to do. We actually start taking care of ourselves the way we say we should. It's how we start building trust in ourselves. Then it's going to give us the opportunity in our family matters. In our family matters. Along with the neutrality, which we'll talk about in a moment, to allow those others in our lives, even if we disagree with them, even if there's fear there that they're not handling things correctly in our opinions, right? We allow them the freedom and space and time. We allow them to live life the way they see fit. Unless there is serious harm happening, physical, mental, or emotional, then that does need to be addressed, of course. But just because you disagree with those around you and how to live life does not mean you have to bring it up. Does not mean that you have to tell them how they should live life. And we can just begin to trust. Now, see, trust ourselves. We're going to have so many opportunities to trust our loved ones that, you know, the concept of if you love them, let them go and see if they come back. Or if you love them, you just let them be who they are and trust that they're going to be okay. Trust that they know what's best for them. Right? A lot of people, though, are completely out of that habit. Completely out of that habit. The trust is also going to be, because I'm going to end up having to go back to that, the trust is also going to be a bunch, million different times in this year to learn how to trust the Creator. To learn how to trust, yeah, manna will fall from the sky. To trust that food will be on your table that night. To trust that those bills will get paid. Open without expectation. Pickers can't be choosers. Is there food on your table that night? Yeah. Is it not exactly what you want to eat in that moment? Maybe not. But I was raised by those who grew up in the Depression, and one of the best lines ever taught to me nonstop as a kid was, you can't have chicken and apple pie every day. And what that meant, chicken and apple pie was like an American great staple meal, right? If you can eat chicken and apple pie, you just had a great meal. But you know what? You can't have chicken and apple pie every day. That's fine. Is there still food? Are you still eating? Yes. Open without expectations. And this might be the moment that everybody goes, yeah, but Courtney, if I want to have chicken and apple pie every day, I should be entitled to have that. I should be able to have that. Well, I'm sorry, guys. All of our minds have begun to create something. So we need to start recreating with gratitude, with trusting the cosmos to deliver, you got food. Go back to the very root basics, because survival fear is going to be on the table. But what's going to be very interesting, as we're all going to see, it's survival based on of expectations that are beyond what humans need. Everybody's going to be afraid of losing their $5,000 home. The fuck? Right? It's going to be, because everything has been blown out of proportion, it's got to shrink back to the basics. But everybody's going to be in the fear of that. Opportunity to trust. Yay! Opportunity to practice trust that you will get what you need. right? I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait. And now there might be people out there saying, gosh, this girl is not about prosperity. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. But everything does need to be right sized. And I'm all about prosperity. My idea on what prosperity is might be different. That's the only difference. So, trust. Learning to trust yourself as you implement all these little things, right? In 2023, as we've been talking about. Learn to allow people to do as they do without you having to tell them how to live. And a trust that they will be okay. We're going to trust that they'll be okay. And then trusting the Creator, Great Spirit, to give you what you need. Every day. Every day. I'm going to give an example because we have stepped away from a lot of all of this. All of this for a very, very long time. Of course, I'm here because this is my job and this is what I'm doing. But if we were kind of out and about being ourselves, just hanging out, and we were somewhere and we saw a bunch of people doing what they do, I'd probably be very neutral about it. I would. I wouldn't even bother to interrupt or say anything. Here, this is my job and this is my platform, so I get to do and say whatever I want, right? It resonates with some, doesn't with others. But we have been in a society for quite a long time that others have felt that they can tell people what they should or should not do and look down upon them if they're not doing the same as them. Once again, fear creates separation, but it also creates solidarity. And that's how we've lived for a very long time, and especially in the New Age movement. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of the New Age movement. I once was taking a class with a bunch of people, and we went out to lunch with each other during, you know, the lunch break of this class. And the woman sitting next to me was, I don't know if she was vegan or vegetarian, either or. And she continuously wanted to tell me how I needed to eat that way. Continuously. Which, it's nothing against vegans or vegetarians. That be who you are. Cool. Works for you. And the whole time I'm just going, yeah, okay, you know, okay. But then as the food came, she then said, and I'm sorry guys if this ends up looking bad or smelling bad, but I'm going to put a lot of the condiments on this. I went, okay. And yeah, she proceeded to use all of the bottles of, we are at a Mexican restaurant, all of the bottles of salsa and condiments, whatever it may be, and she put it all over her plate of food right next to me and made a soupy, sloppy mess that was actually really disgusting, and she kept apologizing for it. As she kept wanting to talk to me about, especially me for some reason, about, probably because I ordered a bunch of meat, about being, you know, vegetarian. And I'm just looking at her slop of condiments, thinking, are you not concerned about how much sodium you're putting in your body right now? But did I say anything? No. No, I did not say anything. Because she was substituting the flavor of meat with, I can't even imagine how much sodium. And it was really disgusting. I mean, everybody at the table was like, okay. Very, very interesting that she didn't catch any of that. Did I say anything as I'm being lectured about the meat I'm eating? No. No. No, not at all. Because what she's saying and doing is what she's saying and doing. It doesn't bother me. It's not, I'm gonna eat this meat. You guys see these fangs? I definitely eat meat. I'm gonna eat some meat, right? My body definitely needs it at times. I'm not built the same as others. Um, but like I said, completely oblivious to how much sodium she's putting, which is just as highly dangerous as her considering meat to be. Actually, probably even more so. Did I say anything? No. I just stayed neutral. I just ate my food. I just let whatever she was trying to lecture me on roll off my back. But that's the world we've been in for quite a long time now. That everybody's got opinions about how somebody else should live. Everybody's got opinions on what they should eat, do for a living, how views on social and economic issues and cultural stuff. Everybody has felt that, and I do want to put the word entitled on there, and it has nothing to do with age, race, creed, color, any of it, economic at all. Everyone for a very long time has felt very entitled to express their feelings about how someone else should live. And we got to rewind that. And that 2023 is going to be a whole lot of practicing. A whole lot of trusting. I don't need to tell everybody my views and opinions and how they should live. I'm going to allow them to live however they choose. And if somebody's trying to tell me how to live, I'm going to let it roll right off my back. It is going to be a year for the majority of people that have not practiced this fully yet, the level of consciousness of neutrality. It will be. And we will have to be conscious of the fact of staying in that. Hence, again, being in the eye of the storm. I'm just walking along and moving with the storm, right, as we talked about last week. But I don't have to engage in all that mighty wind. I don't have to engage in all these opinions. Because fear creates separation and solidarity. I hope everybody's sticking with me. I know. And I know people will watch this after it's live. It does take now a while for it to render and be posted. So, it's interesting how I bring up trust, isn't it? Because I think the people watching right now, you've seen this. We go over this in my Patreon. If you're interested in joining Patreon of Stars of the Morning Light, it's $5 or $8. I teach there twice a month. We're really going to start getting into more of the esoteric metaphysical stuff. Once a month, it's more healing, working up this chart, this level of consciousness chart. And the other time a month, when I teach, it's going to be more esoteric and grander things like that. But this is the levels of consciousness chart. So, as we look at, where am I? Neutrality, fourth dimensional thinking. Fourth dimensional thinking. Walking away from pride, walking away from anger. Neutrality is only at 250 hertz, 250 frequency. But the majority of the world's not even there. So I'm trying to propose, how about we open to living a life without fear? Remember? It's part of this, of the open without expectations. Neutrality, 250. Bam! There is the word trust. There is the word trust. The emotional state that is associated with being neutral. If you don't engage, if you don't feel the need to engage, and you identify your fears, acknowledge that they're most likely not happening in that moment, and you're going to trust that life will continue to go smoothly for you, even if it's at a lower bar. Life will still go smoothly for you, that lower bar we're going to talk about, okay? I'm not going to just leave you guys without. But being in the neutral state, the neutrality of mindset, not having to engage, not having to prove you're right or wrong, that's pride and ego anyways. Not engaging in the solidarity of actually fear, not promoting fear, being responsible with, what you do say and don't say, being cool with what, okay, so that person, even if I love them, and they are messing up all over the place, I'm going to allow, okay, they'll get their consequences, they will learn, that's fine, I don't have to say anything, I don't have to do anything. Household, community, grander scale. Get into the neutral state of mind so you can start practicing trust. We're going to be practicing it with ourselves by implementing all those little things. We're going to be developing trust via other people by being in the neutral zone. Yeah, I'm just going to let you do whatever you do. If I'm a vegan, I'm just going to let that person sitting next to me eat meat because maybe I'm not doing the best thing either. Vice versa. No one has the right to tell anyone else how to live. At all. At all. So let me go into my next little part about this. I know for a fact I've been talking about this since the summer. And once I do start talking about it, it might sound a little socialist to you. This is not at all socialism. Just like I just said, no one has the right to tell someone else how to live. No one walking the planet, I don't care what position, I don't care what status, I don't care what money, I don't care what fame, I don't care any of it. No one has the right to tell someone else how to live. No one is above or below anyone else. Now, of course, yes, we have the prison system. Well, that's because you messed up and you went to prison. We all know that's a money laundering system anyways. No one does. Not me, not you, and vice versa. So what I'm going to talk about here is definitely not socialism. I'm talking about the bartering system. We're going to be headed that way. I've been talking about it since the summer. Time is now, folks. Time is now. So, I'm going to use my girlfriend Jamie. Before this show today, we were on the phone talking about the event happening this coming weekend. We're talking about possibly a much bigger event in the spring, talking about all sorts of stuff. And I said, I'll see you Friday to set up. And I said, and then she said, and by the way, I just made a big amount of laundry detergent. Do you want some? And I said, oh yeah, I'll take some laundry detergent. I said, and oh, by the way, I also need some of those eggs that your chickens are going to be laying. Make sure you save some of those for me. I'll get them on Friday. And then I turned to her and I said, man, that sounds like a good Friday. Eggs and laundry detergent? I know I'm going to be out of both of those by then. Bartering. Yes, am I going to pay Jamie for that? Of course. Of course I am. But I have been operating on the bartering system for a very long time in my life because I was also raised to do it that way. For a very long time. I want a haircut. I need to get all this weight off me, right? I am thinking this the past couple of weeks. I know somebody I'm going to call and be like, "Hey, will you cut my hair? I'll do this for you." Awesome. Barter. No money has to be exchanged. I know there's pockets in the communities. Remember, also 2023 is what does community need? Community. I know that communities, hopefully, and if you haven't yet, get to it, start talking amongst each other about, okay, you're going to grow this vegetable. You got this going on. That needs to be more happening. Period. Period. Everybody's got skills and talents. Everybody's got extra. The majority of the world has extra. We're going to start using that extra for bartering. We're going to use our skills and talents. I was on the phone with somebody a few weeks ago, and he is in the north. And it's a little bit more difficult in more city areas. But yet, it's not really. I said, I'm on the phone with him. My buddy Jay. Love him. He needs to find a babysitter for his kid. And it's hard. I mean, what that costs is insane, right? But he doesn't need it for like 5 days a week. He just needs a babysitter for, a little bit on Tuesday afternoon and like Thursday morning or something, right? I said, Jay, he's Polish. There's a big Polish community in Chicago. I said, Jay, go find one of the older Polish women, ask her, if she'll take care of the kid and see what you can barter. And he said, I don't have anything I can barter. I said, what are you talking about, Jay? I said, find somebody that has a dog, because you know how to train dogs, and most people don't. Hey, if you babysit my kid for 10 hours a week, I'll train your dog on Saturdays. Barter. Hey, if you take care of my kid 10 hours a week, I'll do an oil change for you in the car. Barter, right? We all have some kind of skill or knowledge. We all do. All of us. It'll come down to what we need. Same with most people do have access, definitely here in the States. So if we don't know how to pay that bill and we're fearful about it, we caught it, we're fearful about it, we're open to no expectations. Is there a bartering system we can do? Is there something we can sell? What needs to happen? And I gotta tell you guys, I barter even in a way of, it might not even just be one-on-one. I'll be like, hey, can you get me a haircut? Or they want to give me something for an exchange with me. I don't really need what they're going to give me, but I know somebody over here needs it, so I'm going to get what I actually need from that person over there and give them what they just gave me. Happens all the time. All the time. Well, that's how I did a lot of the holidays. We say it as regifting. Take that concept and put it into bartering. It's going to be what happens. It's going to be how you do put, sometimes it is going to be how you put food on the table. Sometimes. Because the collective is still thinking and moving and projecting and creating in fear. So until more people can be neutral, at least, more people that can be that and release a lot of the fear in that area while learning how to trust, all of us will be affected, right? Because it's the collective energy. But am I going to live in any of that fear? No. But it's because I've been setting it up. I've been setting it up. I trust the universe. I truly learned how to trust the universe in 2015. I mean, over and over again. That's when I started practicing true, ultimate trust with the universe. And then I've probably been working with like really bartering systems since about 2018. So it can be done. It can be done. And then you don't lack, you don't feel rejection, you aren't in survival. It can be done. What this boils down to for me, a year ago, I was posting a lot of stuff on social media saying, we won. We won. And very few people actually responded to that or resonated. And this was maybe 2 years ago now. I just don't think people were there yet. That is what we're going to learn. That is what we're going to be learning in 2023. If we take all of the energy, the possibilities that are presented for practicing and learning trust, I trust myself. I'm taking care of myself. We, as your family unit, your loved ones, even your four-leggeds, your family unit, your household, we, and then one is the community you live in. Because, like I've said before, most people can't wrap their heads around how to take care of the collective because they're not even a part of their community. How can we understand a collective when we haven't even understood how to live within our community? So we, my little we in my house here, and the one, community. And like I said, that could be online community, that could be the community you live in, that could be the community at your church, that could be the community at your, women's groups, whatever it may be. But we do have to be careful. Going back to the very beginning of this, what we listen to, who we're hanging out with in the community, what we're willing to engage with, because remember, fear creates separation, but it also creates solidarity. We do not want to get into the mix of those who just perpetuate and feed the fear, because we are creating all the time. So we know this. We know to be open without expectation. We're open to receiving. Even though we might not know what it looks like. We are open to trying to live life without fear. And we are open to trying to live in the neutral state of mind, allowing people to be people, regardless if we agree or not. Before I let you guys go, a part of that too, to be careful of what you're listening to, is there is also another, there's a possibility that towards more the end of 2023, summer into fall, because of planetarily and what's happening, in the cosmos, there can be a thread of energy that more spiritual leaders are presented to the world. They start coming out of their caves, right? The energy that's here to do that is for the positive, for actual spiritual leaders to be presented to us. But as we all know, most things become corrupted very quick. Most things latch on to that kind of energy and try to ride the tailcoats. So, or the coattails, I'm sorry, the coattails. So, towards summerish, fall, if you start seeing more leaders out there standing up, starting to preach to the world and teach, be weary, have discernment, pay attention to see if they are false prophets. What are they actually preaching? Are they presenting more fear? Because there is that, it's not like a huge theme of 2023, but it is there. That we just have to have discernment. I mean, guys, just last night, this is why I brought it up at the beginning, I was watching another new documentary about some crazy cult, some yoga, a yogi, a guru, right? Flipping cult, right? That I did not know that tea I like to buy at the store and consume is actually from that cult. I had no idea. It's like, man, the stuff you learn, how much they are running the world, these cults, right? So, of course, now I'm just going to, the woman who just made the laundry detergent, I'm going to get chicken or eggs from on Friday. Her husband's an herbalist. Hey, Victor, start making me some tea, because I'm not going to give my money to that, right? But we don't know often when it first starts. And there is a possibility of a lot of that happening. The New Age movement has already been very infiltrated. Very, very infiltrated. That's why I don't do anything really New Age. You guys all know I'm ancient. This is where we go way old school. OG to the utmost. I'm ancient material, not anything New Age. Because it's very, it's already been infiltrated in 1,000 different ways. Just have discernment, and we'll talk about it more so. Hey, Miss Susie, we'll talk about it more so when that time comes. But you might start seeing pockets of it now, because all you that are listening to Stars of the Morning Light, you beautiful stars, keep shining. Hit that like button. Let's everybody pause for a minute. There you go. Hit that like button. Good job. Thank you. Everybody that's listening here, I am trying to prepare you. But do know that whole fear creates separation, but it also creates solidarity. We're going to see that happening in droves of those people that are not in the eye of the storm, those people that are willing to jump into the tornado and be thrown around. Because I do not know any better right now. We allow that because we're neutral. We do not try to tell them that they're idiots. We do not try to tell them you're doing the wrong thing. They'll get thrown around enough and hopefully land on the ground, and that's when we just slowly walk by and be like, hey, come on into the eye. It's really calm in here, right? We do not tell them that they're doing the wrong thing. But we are going to see lots of pockets of people, lots of tornadoes with all sorts of their own objectives and thoughts and opinions that have created solidarity, all based in fear. All based in fear. And so within that, you're going to see, quote unquote, spiritual leaders jump right into those tornadoes and be like, I can save the day. Just so we know. Just so we know. Anybody that's listening. There does, though, have the potential for actual, true, authentic, those who are not trying to get anything out of you, those who are teaching stuff for the betterment of mankind, not them, just themselves, but the betterment of mankind, um, that is that are there to help. There will be those as well. Um, we just will have to have discernment. I just hadn't brought that up before, but I figure it's apropos to this message of today. The how to thrive in the collective love. Acknowledging your fears. They're not really happening. If we can let go of them and be a part of the neutrality, learning trust, then all that stuff in our mind, we won't end up creating it. We won't end up creating it. On top of, you're taking care of the I, we, one is your community. And start learning and figuring out who you are, your skills and talents and what you got, because everybody's got access, very much so here in the States, as to bartering, as to awesome, you know, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today, which I know if anybody remembers the old Popeye movie with Robert Williams, I would gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. That can still very much be present in our lives. And because we've learned to build the trust within ourselves by implementing all these little things along the way, guess what you would do? You would show up on Tuesday and pay for that hamburger. And you know what? They'll do it again for you. They'll do it again for you. It's how the world actually works. And I'll leave you with this. So much of that we live in, we are creating, right? We're creating with our thoughts and our words. And a lot of people will say, based especially off of Carl Jung, that we don't have freedom of choice. And we do. We do. I will tell you, when I was between the ages of 20 and 22, I was very hardcore into Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. I must have read it like twice at least, and it's a very big, long book. I was very into Carl Jung as well, and some other stuff. More Hindu, Vedic stuff I was learning at the time. That was the one thing that I actually have always disagreed with Carl Jung. He will say, or he did, right? He will say that humans actually don't have choice. Because even if we think that we're practicing choice, it is based on already a system that's in place. Very limited choices. Either we go right or we go left or we go forward. That's our choices, right? I actually have never been able to agree with that. Because there's been millions of times in my life that I didn't go left, right, or forward. I jumped the street entirely. Because we can do that. And I had a professor in college. It was actually a sociology class. And I didn't really get it at the time, but I got it a few years post-college. His line was, the greatest thing about being a human being is that we have the capacity to surprise ourselves. He said it all the time. And I mean, I thought I got it then, and I wrote a whole paper about that one saying. Because he said it all the time. But I didn't really get it until after. The greatest thing about being a human being is that we have the capacity to surprise ourselves. Other beings here don't have that. My dog's not going to surprise himself in any way. The only time that happens is if a fart happens with him and he jumps. Like, whoa, what was that? That's when he surprises himself, right? Yeah, we have jokes here. It's fun here. My dog's not going to surprise himself. What that means is that we actually do have freedom of choice. And we can always look outside the scope of what we think our options are. So Carl Jung will say that we don't really have free will because we're using that choice of free will for what is in the 3D simulation, right? There's only going to be a few options to choose from. I don't agree with that. We can look far out of the scope. We can create an option that has never even been in place. We can do so many things. And we, at any moment of the day, any moment, we can do that. That is surprising ourselves. At any moment of the day. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant to do it for yourself. It's brilliant when you see loved ones doing it. And it's wonderful and amazing when communities start taking it really into themselves. That individuals within those communities can surprise themselves, causing an effect. Causing an effect. It's an amazing thing us humans are. It's so amazing what humans are. It's unbelievable what we are. It really is. So, I will leave you guys with that. Thank you for listening this long. I cherish you. I really do. So, maybe this week, surprise yourself. Big, small, doesn't matter, because we're also going to be practicing the neutrality of trust. I love it. Big, small surprises. You can do it. You're amazing. You're just amazing. So, there's a lot to take in. For those who do watch these videos, or if you came in late and you wanted to rewind it and listen, I will tell you, with the new electronic device that I'm using, it's going to take a minute because I'll hit end here and it will start rendering to upload, even though I went live. It's kind of fascinating. So it will be there most likely by the end of the day. If anything here has resonated with you and you think it's going to resonate with someone else, please share it out. Definitely hit the like button. If you're new here, think about subscribing. And like I said, guys, the next Sundays of January, we are going to be still covering the topics of what is the energies, how to best go about operating in 2023, being in that eye of the storm. What does that actually look like for us? And so be here, be around, be a part of it. I love you guys. Bye. Cheers.